And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guests are Lisa M. Harrison and Darius J. Wright. Lisa has spent most of her life on her own personal spiritual journey and has come to the conclusion that we are living in a holographic virtual reality. Darius is a prolific OBE explorer that teaches and speaks publicly about accessing the other side and awakening dormant abilities within all of us. Today we'll be talking about the nature of reality, the Lion's Gate, and what's in store for the future. Lisa and Darius, welcome back. It's great to have you again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back.
Darius, let's start with you. And can you just kind of refresh people's memory about what you've been up to, and then we can go right into the nature of reality?
Yeah, sure. So just to give people an overview of who I am is I have been having out-of-body experiences pretty much my whole life, way back as a child, 16 to present day. And what I do is I teach people how to have the out-of-body experience, but with having the out-of-body experience, I've been able to access the true nature of reality, the records, and one of the most important things for people to understand with the out-of-body state is that it's not necessarily dreams or lucid or any of that. It's the same thing as an NDE, but it's an NDE, near-death experience controlled. So I've gotten to the point now where I can take my soul out of the body through a certain method that I do to access the other side. And that's pretty much what I've been doing to get the information that I share publicly.
Darius, before we move on to your presentation, I just want to ask something real quick. Do you believe that your body is created by your consciousness, like a manifestation of it, or is it just something simply separate from it?
Well, your soul, right? So your soul is your consciousness. So yes and no, because when you come out of your body and you're on the other side, your soul is just as physical. It's more physical than the physical body. So we'll just call it that's your blueprint right there. It's not corrupted. It's perfection, your soul. So the physical body has a lot of distortion. So it's not actually the perfected version. This is why you age. This is why you get diseases and stuff like that. So it's a yes and no question because the soul is actually keeping the body sustained. Does that answer?
Kind of. I guess what I'm getting at is, should we not really be using the word out of body, and should we possibly be using the words separating from the body?
Yeah, you can. I mean, they're just different wordings and stuff like that. I mean, I like to use the word the out of body state because you are coming out, right? So when you leave the body, you're literally stepping out of the body, and then you turn back around and you can see yourself, your physical body sleeping on the bed, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an out of body. You're actually coming out. Your soul is coming out of the body to access all things on the other side. The unseen becomes seen to you.
All right. Let's move forward to your presentation, Darius.
Okay. Let me just share my screen here.
I first want to say that I love that picture. I wish I lived there.
Yeah. I mean, this is the things that, like a lot of the images here, sort of the best ones that I could do in terms of trying to show what the other side is. But one of the first things that I want to cover here in this presentation is the nature of reality. And I want to say this as well. I'm going to try to condense this presentation here, which is typically each one of these sections that I go through lasts anywhere from 3 hours of presentation. So I'm going to try to condense this within like 20 minutes or so. So what I'm sharing here is just the things that I feel are necessary for people to understand about the other side and clarity of what that is in the out-of-body state. One of the first things that people need to understand is what is the other side this is misunderstood a lot, and this is the best way to understand it. The other side, what we're in right now, is a construct. This construct contains 12 realms, right? And those 12 realms also have dimensional spaces as well that are created through thought forms, right? So individual souls thinking something created a dimensional space within their field. Also, the stars act as fixed dimensional spaces as well that can be accessed. This is where you go into the halls of Amente, the pyramids. This is why they were aligned to the stars, because they were acting as fixed dimensional space gateway access points. When people refer to home, they're referring to outside of the construct completely, outside of the realms, outside of the construct. And I've been showing this many times in the out-of-body state. The most prominent one to me was when I was showing all of the construct. It looked like constructs and realms stacked on God's shelves, right? What's also important to understand here is that when individuals begin to leave their body, right, you can access, you're typically accessing within the just realm one, typically. Some people could access more, the many different realms within this construct. But there is an outside to this. Like I stated before, what people consider home. There is an outside of the construct, outside of all of this. Dimensional spaces. So accessing these dimensional spaces, as I wanted to before, I actually want to clarify this even more. When people leave the body, they're typically only accessing realm one. Realm one is where we are right now, all right? And when you leave the body, you access realm one and all of the extremes that are within realm one. So right now we have evil and good playing out at the same time. When you leave your body and you're just accessing realm one, you're accessing a dimensional space within realm one where you could see those things taking place as well. This is where you get people that talk about the astral plane and reincarnation and being trapped in all this fear-based narrative stuff, right? That's there, but it's not, it's only within realm one, within this construct. You can access outside of it, is what I'm saying, all right? And the fear stuff holds people back from accessing a lot of other things that they can't access, like accessing their field, accessing thoughts, time, the records, the true nature of reality is all accessible to individuals that truly desire to access it, especially when they get rid of fear. Because when they get rid of fear, they're able to move past and beyond certain limitations that they placed on themselves and access more things. This is something for me when I was leaving my body, in the really beginning stages of leaving my body. I had to confront a lot of my fears, not just the fear of death, but fears that were deep down within me that I had to resolve in order to access more things. Fear is the number one thing that will prevent you and cut you off from leaving the body and accessing information.
Darius, can you tell us about some of the other fears that you had deep down? Like, give us some examples.
Yeah. So certain beings, right? So having fear of seeing certain entities, I was confronted with that. So sometimes it would come out of my body and I would see very nefarious beings, but and it wasn't until I got rid of the fear, all fear related to this, and confronted it, is where they sort of just disappeared. It was almost like when you fear things, you're creating a field, right? A dimensional space within your field. This is why, which I'll get into later in this presentation, this is why you get a lot of near-death experience people. If they have strong belief systems, let's say religious belief system, people die, they cross over, that they believe in hell, they'll experience hell until they have finally said, I've had enough, reach to the light, and they access all things again. Same thing applies when you're leaving the body through the out-of-body state. If you have a lot of fear, a lot of belief systems, etc., you will see those things and you have to confront them, because that's the thing that will constantly hold you back from accessing more and more and more. This is why when people die, right, there's a transitional space. This transitional space is working through those belief structures and fear-based narrative programs that people hold, moving through those, moving past them, so that they come through reborn again, essentially clean. Does that make sense?
Yes. Before we move on, when some people have a near-death experience and end up in the black void of basically nothingness but consciousness, is that the realm that is outside of the construct?
Yeah. So the black space is outside of all things. So the black space is what creates constructs. So every experience that we have here, constructs, realms, dimensional spaces, is all created from there. Do the heaven and hell and the extremes, all from there.
When you die, would it be in your best interest to go to the black void?
Everybody eventually goes back to home, right? But this is where it's a transitional space, right? So it's a transitional process of slowly, like you hear about this with a lot of near-death experience people. It's a transition. So slowly over time, memories start to return, things get cleared out, etc. So everybody returns back there. This is not necessarily something that is a if you get back there. Everybody will. No one is truly ever lost, and no one's so you're always returning back to that natural state of being, which is home.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
I also want to show this as well. Breaking down more of the construct, realm, and dimensional spaces. The image on the left, what you see there is the best one that I could present here of what the construct looks like on the other side, right? So the construct contains the realms and the dimensional spaces. The image in the middle is the many realms within this construct. The construct that we're in has 12 realms to it, right? And the image on the right shows you the dimensional spaces within each realm that can be accessed as well. Like I said before, each realm has a multitude of dimensional spaces based off individual souls, based off what they're thinking. They put that into the field that also could be accessed by the souls that know how to access it. Also, the dimensional spaces are also fixed dimensional spaces, which could be accessed through the stars, of which I've already discussed already, of how the pyramids and halls of Mente are aligned to fixed dimensional spaces through the stars as well. And this is where I'm going to go into this. The stars function as a mapping system to access fixed dimensional spaces within this construct. This is something that's very prominent in the halls of Amente, accessing the records in that area and space as well. That when you are navigating through different areas within this realm, you can also navigate them through the stars, access different spaces within this construct. All right.
Darius, what is the difference between the Akashic records and the halls of Amente?
Well, I'll get into that in the end of this one, because I actually have that at the very end of this presentation, which will wrap it up into that.
Okay.
Now I want to go into the out-of-body state here. This is something I've went a while looking up different people's experiences with out-of-body experiences online, right? This was when I was younger, trying to figure out what sleep paralysis was and all those things. And when I actually experienced this doing a controlled, constantly having out-of-body experiences, this is where I found there's a massive misconception with an understanding of what the out-of-body state is, right? Because the out-of-body state is no different at all from a near-death experience. It's a near-death experience controlled, right? So when someone has a near-death experience, they die in order to access the other side. So that this is when it's almost like me at 16 years old when I was showing Everything by Celeste, right? That's me. I didn't have the words to describe the information, the construct, the realms, the dimensional spaces, because it was one experience. Similar to near-death experience people, when they have this experience, it hits them all at once. And based off the certain belief systems that they have in that transitional period of accessing and pinpointing certain things, may come as distorted, right? Distorted information, etc. Same is true for out-of-body experiences. But the thing is, the out-of-body experience is a controlled near death. It's a shutdown of the body, so the soul could exit the body and access the other side. But with this, you have a multitude of experiences where you could start to pinpoint things, work out the distortions and belief systems that you have in order to navigate getting rid of fear, etc. When you look at dreams, lucid dreams, astral projection, the consciousness, you're not 100% fully conscious and fully aware as when you are having an OBE or near-death experience. Your consciousness is about 25 to 50% there. This is why when you have these experiences, you can't necessarily remember all of the detail. It's fuzzy. Sometimes you forget certain things, right? But when you are out of the body, it is more physical, more real, more dense than it is here. This is where we go into the other side of what I just covered, is more physical. The other side is a copy, right? This realm, this construct that we're in, is a very poor copy of the other side of what people consider home, etc. So the physicality of that, which I'm talking about, is not necessarily, it doesn't have the distortions of the physical body here. The physical body here decays. Over there, you don't age, it doesn't decay, you don't have diseases. You are in your fullest expression of yourself with no distortions. This is no DNA, no chakras. All these things are distortions here based off the 12. You look into the DNA, the 2-strand DNA, 12-strand, etc., 12 realms. See what I mean? It's all mirrored off each other.
You said that the other side is more dense and the other side is physical. And some near-death experiencers comment that the other side is more real than this side. So that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, it is. This is the thing of what I said before, which I'll actually move up to this slide. NDEs and OBEs, how they're the same thing. One is just a controlled near death. You're not dying necessarily to leave the body, but you're shutting down the body to a degree, lowering the heart rate down, etc., so that the soul could freely exit. So it is more real and more physical there than it is here. That's absolutely true. That's actually one of the biggest shocks and realizations when having these experiences, right? Because when you come out and you realize, you're in your soul, you pop out of your body, you're seeing your physical body on the bed, but the soul that you are within, the consciousness, etc., is more physical than the body that you just left. It's a very bizarre feeling, and it's almost like oh, this is what real is, right? We think we're living, this is real here, but when you're there, it's like, this is real. This is home. This is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on to the next slide. There are many different things that you could do when you're out of your body. Typically, when people are out of their body, they are usually accessing just this realm that we're in right now, the physical realm. So this is where you could see people doing things in real time. So if your friend's making a coffee, when you're out of your body, you could see them making a coffee. You could go over and visit certain people and see what they're doing. I've done this many times. It freaked them out, essentially. So you could do that when you're out of your body as well. See what's taking place here. And like I said, that's including the extremes, good and evil. You could see it all. You can access the construct, the realms of the dimensional spaces. Like I said before, the many realms here you can access, but you could also access outside of this place. There's an outside that you can reach and you can access. But this is, I found, this is where I went into the fear-based stuff. When I had a lot of fear, my access was limited until I got rid of the fear. I confronted my fears head on. And when I confronted those and my fear went away of the things that I feared the most, access and more access continued, and I started to get access to more things, etc. You could change the way you look as well. This is something that I've done. This was about 2 years ago. I was looking into the mirror, right, out of my body, and I was just thinking of changing certain facial structures and things like that. and you could change the way you look there. This is, like I said before, this is where when you have a grandmother that died at 89, 90 years old, when you go to the other side, people have a near-death experience, you see them, they're in the prime of their life, 30, etc., because you could change to the perfected blueprint version of yourself, your soul's expression, whatever that is. You could contact dead relatives. You could see relatives. I've contacted Uncle Bob. This is when I was taken to the halls of Amente. Like I said, I've never knew what the halls of Amente were until Uncle Bob came to me in the out-of-body state and took me to the halls of Mente to show me what that was, what that place was, a certain record in place that can be accessed outside of the body. You can access your field, thoughts, and time. I've accessed these things as well. You can access the records and a whole bunch more. But like I said before, it's important to note that you must get rid of the fear, not only the fear of death, right? And I know that this is something for people that hear, get rid of the fear of death, but it's something that needs to be faced, right? You need to face your fears head on. There's no way around it. Even when you do die, you will be forced to face certain belief structures and certain fears, etc., to move past it, to cleanse yourself, etc. This is where it goes into the health of the physical body. This is something that is highly neglected, and it's the health of the body is also not that complicated as well. It's highly neglected, but then sometimes overly complicated, right? But the health of the body matters for the out-of-body experience for this one reason. Information coming within the body when you leave it, so it does not fry out your central nervous system, right? You have a lot of people that have near-death experiences, right? They leave and access the other side. Their health and their body could be completely in a sense, right? But they are still accessing the other side. So the health does not matter in terms of accessing information, but when you bring that information within the physical vessel, the temple that you're using here, if the physical body's not looked after, you will get this frying out effect. The best way to think about this is a computer. Take computer A and computer B. Computer A has been updated with the latest software when it needed to. The hardware has been replaced and updated. Computer B never updated the software, never replaced certain hardware things to just general maintenance. Computer A and computer B still have access to the internet. Every computer has access to the internet, but computer B, right, will have a difficult time loading certain web pages, downloading certain things without the computer crashing or becoming very bogged down. The same thing applies to the physical body when leaving your body, right? So when you're leaving your body, bringing the information back in, same thing applies. You'll still access the other side and all things in the records, but your physical body will pay the price if it is not properly looked after and maintained in terms of frying out your central nervous system, etc. So taking care of yourself health-wise is important for only that aspect. This is where we're going to go into the records, right? These are records that I have accessed. There is more things that I'm accessing when I'm leaving my body. This is why I still continue to leave my body, right? Because I'm accessing more things. One of the first places that I've accessed was the halls of Amente, right? And the halls of Amente is basically where the pyramids are. You access the halls of Amente through the middle pyramids, gives you access to 3 different halls, middle one being the longest and deepest hall. When you access the middle hall, you also get access to sacred items, tools, and things that the beings used to use in that particular time within this realm, which were, a lot of people think like the staffs and tools and things that they used in the Egyptian Atlantis time was for decoration. No, this was to enhance their natural abilities, because their dormant abilities weren't dormant. They were fully activated, and they were able to do what they wished to do: telepathic communication, levitation, teleportation. All those things were accessible within this time frame. This is where you also go into these physical bodies should be able to access that which the soul can access, but because of all the distortions, where we are, etc., that it's pretty much hard. This is why awakening your dormant abilities, a lot of things are dormant, right, within the physical body. And at this particular time within the halls of Amente, those dormant abilities were fully awaken, essentially. This is where they, in the middle hall, this is where they actually show you, where I'll show them the construct. And the construct, how they showed it to me was essentially like this. Now, these images aren't 100%, but they are accurate enough to get it across. So they have a table, and in that table, as you see here, they show you the construct, they show you the realms, they show you the firmament, etc., how this place works. They also show you different access access points, portals, etc. One of them being within this realm. There's a core within this realm, and that core acts as a portal to actually access different areas, etc. This is where we go into the cathedrals. Now, the cathedrals is actually part of the heavenly realm records. This is what people call the fifth realm, right? So the fifth realm within this construct, right? So this is what people call heaven or new earth, right? Heaven is not home. Heaven is within this construct. It's still within this game that we're playing, right? And what's interesting when you access the cathedrals, what I saw is that people here were using forms of organic technology similar to what you see with the phones that we use in the tablets. This is where I think where you get, like, the tablets and stuff like that in the Bible and things like that. They use forms of technology there. This is also like a gathering room as well. People gather. It's like massive cathedral, and also records of the heavenly realms. That's what the cathedrals are. This is where I also go into as well the universal records. Now, the universal records are essentially, I want you to think of it this way. The universal records are similar to what the construct is, right? So the construct contains the realm and the dimensional spaces. The universal records contains all records of all things, soul records, halls of Amente, cathedrals. It contains everything. It's similar to basically the black space. It has everything is available to you. You think of something, right? Even as soon as you think of something, you are presented with certain records and things like that that are related to the things and the questions that you have. The soul records, now this is something that I want to also make a little bit clear. The soul records goes into, particular to me anyways, remembering entering this realm, past lives. Now I also want to state here, when it goes into the past life stuff, right? This is important to understand. Incarnation and death, reincarnation, is an event that only happens here, only happens within this construct. So when people access their soul records, which is what people call the Akashic, and I've never heard it said to me like that. They just called it the soul records to me. Your past lives is a very small aspect of the records, right? Because incarnation only happens here. Your soul records contains all of your experiences, even outside of this construct. Because when you're outside of this construct, when you want to enter certain realms or different constructs or create your own, you don't need to incarnate and die in order to leave those spaces, because you're operating in your perfected version, your soul. Here, we have to incarnate into a distorted version, a bad copy, etc., which then gives us, we have to die, be birthed. It's not how it works on the other side. You don't have to die in order to have an experience on the other side. It only happens within this construct. And that's basically the presentation. Like I said, that's something that, like, all these things, the records, thoughts and time, how to have the out-of-body experience, the nature of reality, are presentations that I hold that go for like 2-3 hours. But that was just me trying to condense all of those things into what I think is the most necessary information to share in this short period of time that I have to share it.
Well, it was amazing, and thank you for sharing it with us. Let me just get one quick question in before we move on to Lisa, and even Lisa can answer this too if she likes, but what is the point of coming here?
All right, so what's the point of coming here? Now, I'll answer it the best way that I know how to answer this without trying to get caught up into a lot of different belief systems and stuff like that. It's just as I understand it to be. This construct was created to experience the extremes, what we are not. And in order to experience that, you know, let's call it shadow, right? So you create the opposite of love, you know, and you experience that. But this has gotten to the point where it's so extreme that I don't believe many people are experiencing what they originally agreed to experience when coming into this. Right. This is where I also talk about the completion, the wrapping up, because this is where there's been so many resets and repeats of this. This is where you go into even the halls of Amente. This is the reason why I'm there a lot when I'm out of my body, because that was the most recent reset. They call it the Great Flood, things like that. That was that point in time where everything got reset again, etc. So, yeah, this game was originally created to experience that which we are not. In short,
Do you care to add to that, Lisa?
Well, funnily enough, it is part of what I'm going to share later anyway. So,
All right. Well,
and it's probably better if I do that with the visuals that I have.
all right. Well, I'm trying to think about where we should start. And I mentioned the Lion's Gate in the beginning. So can we start with what that is?
Yeah, last time you and I spoke, I think it was July, I'm not sure. The Lionsgate as a time frame, the August 8 time frame felt very important, that what we were leading up to. So do you want me to start sharing?
If you feel like it's best to answer that question, then yeah.
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't see things the way Darius does, because I don't exit my body the way he does. But what I do get is visuals that are sort of very personal and pertinent to me, so that I can understand them. And the first way I was shown a concept of where we are, of the construct, was very similar to this child's toy. But you can imagine that it has 12 layers to represent 12 realms. There's somewhere that's one of the points where Darius and I, and even Athena that you had on recently, all converge, is that there are 12 realms inside this construct. Athena also shares what I would call is a top-down view of this. And I'll use that as an example to explain this. So this being the first realm that was created inside this construct, when we call it a template, you know, it has an operating system. We experienced in that realm. We had all of the experiences that that realm allowed for. We took all of that information. We created the template for the next one. And everything got condensed, refined, and including smaller. Like it actually becomes physically that little bit smaller. And then we repeat, and we just continue to repeat, experiencing what each realm has to offer, condense, refine, all through these different 11 realms until we get to here, which is what Darius is referring to as realm 1. This is the experience that we're having. This is this particular realm experience. And this whole construct, as far as I understand it, was an experiment in what was called free will. And free will allowed for what he just referred to experience that which you are not. But if we put this back on its side and look at it this way, that to me is a representation of the original construct, what we would call the organic one that we all participated in creating. But then this happened. To me, the entire thing, somebody did a copy and paste and created an inverted, upside down version of the whole thing. Now, as to who did that and why, I know there's a few different theories about that. Some believe that as, you know, realm 1 up the top here was coming to a close, there are some individuals who felt, you know what, we could actually take this a little bit further and therefore created this copy, inverted it, and only some people came in here to experience it to the extreme. Others are of the opinion that it was created through the distortion of free will, that free will created a virus. The people got infected with the virus, didn't want the game to end, and created this upside down inverted copy and sort of pulled everybody into it, or tricked people into it. There's a variety of different belief systems around this. I understand that, and I can't say definitively, even for myself, which one I'm going with at the minute. But what I believe we've been doing is, if you look at the bottom inverted version and that white line, that was our consciousness buried at the deepest level of this inversion. And it has been, as Darius said, reset many times, keeping us down at the bottom level. Overlays, distortions laid on top. Our consciousness was very deeply buried. And when a closeout or a completion has been attempted in the past, you can imagine that it's quite a journey for our consciousness to go from that bottom white line to that top white line and stay intact, to run through all of that energy, all of that memory, all of those experiences, and come out complete and whole. So what we've been doing bit by bit, slowly, is working our way up through the layers of that distortion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as we've collectively moved up, say everybody who needs to, should do, and belongs to go home, moved out of that white layer into the pink one, then that white layer was, I don't know, deleted or closed or locked or whatever. But there is a struggle every time we level up. Every time we start to level up, there is backlash, there is fear-mongering, there is attempts to pull us back down. There are even attempts from some of these beings to try and hitchhike their way up into the next frequency or the next layer. So we go through a period that gets pretty tough. What I believe we've just done, well, last time we spoke, I did talk about the game went live in March. What I believe we've done in March of this year is finally reach the top layer. And the game is now live. And we are in a process now of acclimating to this layer. People are still, we've got people all through this little construct here. There are people in the blue layer, there are people in the green layer, there are people still down in the pink layer. But that top layer opened up to us and we've been moving in. And this is our period of time, even as Darius referred to, like a transition space. This is where we are learning to correct things, turn things right side up again, because we still need a rather seamless transition between the top layer of this upside down world and the true organic, in order to keep the minds intact as much as possible. So that's where I think we are. We're in this process now, and this kicked in. This is back to the Lionsgate. What was revealed to me leading up to it, just in days before, was that there was actually a program, a bit of code, a frequency, I'd call it any of those things, that was causing delays. It was it was making things slower. And time doesn't exist other than our perception of it. I mean, we all have that experience of, time flies when you're having fun. So the more you're in your heart, the more you're in joy, the more you're in love, all of that, your experience of time goes much faster. And so it wasn't a delay in terms of actually stretching out time, but it was a delay in terms of your perception and your experience of it and making things that little bit harder. Well, that whole program got addressed just before, like on the 6th and 7th of August. And everybody was able to really, truly start to level up and move out of that lowest energy. And then on the 9th, wow, so much kicked off. I don't know how much you were aware of, but there was a military operation that spanned 22 time zones that kicked off on the 9th of August. But there was also, and in the energetics, you could feel how everything just opened up and got so much cleaner and clearer and better. And conversely, the fear-mongering did the same. It just went through the roof. That's when they started talking about, more lockdowns and, all kinds of things. It was like both of them just kicked off in equal measure on the 9th. And to me, the period that we're in right now is one of releasing fear. The fear-mongering serves a couple of purposes. It gives us an opportunity to face and release our fears. And our biggest one, collectively, is the fear of death. And it's also, its main objective, from its point of view, is to pull us back down. But if we, and this is, I know at the end of your interviews, you always ask someone to leave your audience with a positive message. And the positive message is to be in your heart, stay in your heart. If you do go into fear, because there will be quite a bit of fear-mongering coming up. I mean, it's already started, obviously, but it's not going to back off just yet. If you find yourself being triggered into fear, go through a process. Do what you need to do to release it. Don't buy in. Don't react. Because ultimately everything is actually really, really good. The other thing which is a different way that I see things to a lot of people, is a lot of people see that we are bringing things in to us. Energies are coming here to us. We are improving. We're going to heal or fix this place. I don't feel or see it that way at all. To me, we are moving closer and closer to the original. So we're the ones who are on the move. It's not things coming to us, it's us going to it. The other thing I do want to touch on is how we are experiencing this physically. Darius did talk about the importance of the physical body. And to me, the bodies are important to get us to this top level, this top layer. I do think we probably shift out of them to go back into the original. But there is a lot, ever since we hit this, especially since August 9, we have had so much data coming in, and a lot of people are getting headaches. There's a lot of shoulder pain. There is a sensation, and as this data is moving through the bodies, literally from head to toe, and it's reconnecting the heart and mind. So it starts off with headaches, and then it hits the shoulders, and it can cause really tense shoulders and shoulder pain. It gets to the chest, and you can feel it's a cold. I've explained it as like menthol. If you rub Vicks Vapor Rub on your chest, it's the cold heat that hits the chest area as your heart is expanding and reconnecting. And then as all of this information, as this code starts to settle in, it can really cause cramping in the calves and the feet, dizziness, obviously. And your concept and experience of time can get really warped. And the night heat that overwhelms people a lot of the time is the burning off of the old code. But it's all about your heart and head connecting again. And it's about releasing fear. That is the two things that are the most prominent right now, I feel.
Lisa, where is this data coming from?
These are my intuitive reads, my experience. This is what I do. It's just try and tune into the construct, tune into the collective, and see what's going on and where everything's at. I mean, some of your audience may already know all of this if they tune into my weekly updates, but and that's how I share it every week.
I think what I meant is that you are showing these symptoms that we may be feeling because of the data coming in. And so,
yes.
And so I was curious, where is the data coming from? Like a realm, like
yeah, I think
an
it's
upper
this
realm.
new layer this new layer that we've hit. Right, is as we acclimate to it, we are accessing the information held within it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people, or a lot of my guests, talk about the ascension. Is this the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we have been ascending through these layers of this inverted copy, and until we will eventually ascend back into the original. Because you might have heard people refer to, and this is why I put it this way graphically, a lot of people will refer to this place as the underworld or the hell realm, or so it's underneath. Yeah, there is a real sense of it being underneath the original organic construct, mirrored and inverted.
Once we all move into the original construct, are there any obvious signs or things within our realm or within our lives that we'll notice that, okay, we've made it?
I believe that for a percentage, and I have no idea what that percentage is, the transition will be very conscious. You'll know exactly what's just happened. And for others, it's going to be a slower transition, a slower awakening. Your life will just get better and better and better and easier, and the limitations and the distortions will slowly be removed at a pace that you decide on a higher level, so that your mind can handle it. And it's not a judgment thing either, because it depends how many times and for how long you've been in this inverted copy as to just how far removed your consciousness got from its original state, how programmed it became. Because this inverted copy it was locked. It got locked from the inside. And you've interviewed many people who talk about it being a trap, or, we're locked in here and we can't get out. And that was the case for some time. But it's not anymore.
Once we reach the white level in the original construct, is that the end point when the construct will end?
From there, I think from there we can choose whether to leave that original organic at any point. The closeout that I'm referring to, the end of the construct that I'm referring to, is the end of this mirrored copy.
How many thousands or millions of years ago do you believe this current construct began?
In terms of this copy that we're in, the inverted copy, I don't think it's been anywhere near as long as we think. Because when it was copy and pasted, so to speak, the whole thing was copied. And so what did originally take, who knows how long in the organic one, was sort of all compressed and put in here. So we've got the evidence, we've got everything from the other realms right here. Yeah. So it looks like 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, millions of years ago. But it's all right here. I mean, it's why we've got evidence of giants that range from 15 feet to the size of mountains. They weren't all existing in the same space and time. To me, they are from the different realms of everything got smaller and more condensed, more compressed. But we've got the evidence of it all right here. So I don't think it's been anywhere near as long as we think.
So are you saying that even though the Earth is here, and this Earth has physically been here through many different constructs, and so we've got layers of constructs all within the Earth, like the pyramids are from another construct. Some other things that you may see somewhere else are from another construct.
Yeah, like the way Darius described it as a realm, like the records are the records of, say, the Egyptian timeline, but you can also say use timeline and realm for me interchangeably. So there was a realm, one of those realms was very what we would call the Egyptian timeline or the Egyptian period. And we've got the evidence of it here because the whole thing was copy and pasted. We've got the evidence of, say Tartaria because it was another layer in the realm. It's all here.
The best way to look at it as well, it's not necessarily constructs within constructs. The construct contains the realms. So let's just say like the cathedrals, the heavenly realms, that's realm 5, still within this construct, right? You see what I mean? And the halls of Amente, same thing applies. It's not another construct. It's another realm within the construct that we're in. So yeah. That's what I tried to share very in the presentation that I did, like really getting people to understand the difference between construct, realms, and dimensional spaces.
It's like having 12 completely different books, compiling them all into one book and making each of those books a chapter when they're really completely different stories and stand on their own.
When one timeline ends, let's say the Egyptian timeline, we were this civilization within the construct. It ended, and then we started a new one. But before we started the new one, we copied and pasted it, so that's why it's still here.
In the original organic, yes, you can say that we had that experience, that what we call the Egyptian experience, the Egyptian realm, the Egyptian timeline. We complete that, we start something new. We do not copy and paste in the organic. The copy and paste part happens when this mirrored, inverted copy happened, because it just copied the whole lot. So we've got the evidence of that realm here. We've got you could even say we've probably got the evidence of the Atlantis one here. So these were all other realms, experiences and timelines that were copied and pasted down to here. Yeah, it wasn't just realm 1 that got copied.
If we are talking only about the original realms, the ones that were copy and pasted, and let's say we all played the game of the Egyptian timeline, does that last for a few thousand years and then we get tired of it and then we have a cataclysmic event and then we start over with a new one, let's say the Greek timeline or whatever else? Is that kind of the way it works?
We have played so many different versions of this, like, good, evil, etc. This is why you also get the gods, they're all the same gods, different names, all different like versions, it's the same script. How they reset it because there are certain event markers within this realm that are inevitable to take place, right? So this is where the distortion happens as well. When you get based off the cycles, 12, 13 cycles. So one of the most inevitable events to take place, which is right in your face, is eventually every single soul will wake up to the other side and access all things again, whether if that's through a controlled OBE of what I teach or what I'm sharing, or whether if that's through death, doesn't matter. That's an inevitable event to take place, that all souls will access the other side again and remember all things. There's certain things as well based off the cycles of within this realm, that they do the same thing. The inevitable events come, they take that event that they know is going to happen, right? And they just loop it, make people, it's controlled typically based off fear as well, because fear is the number one way to control the soul. That's also something that when Lisa was also talking about, and I was talking about the transitional stuff as well, about the people have to face their fear, right? Because if you're in fear in any part of this, especially when you're leaving the transitional side, you're going, it's controlling you. That's how we're controlled now. Think about everything that they do. It's based off fear to control souls here. You get rid of that, you become an uncontrollable soul.
Can you give us any more tips on conquering our fear?
All right. And this is just how I have conquered the fear. Death was a big one for me, right? And you're sort of forced through the out-of-body state to face that, because every single time when you leave, it feels like you're dying, and you're exiting the body. So, and then the other one past that was something could harm me on the other side when I'm out of my body. The thing is that nothing can harm or entrap or do anything to you, the soul, unless you believe it to be so, right? Your very belief will create and also give power to that which you're fearing the most. So when you step out of that, of fearing this could be done to you or this could happen, et cetera, when you stop fearing that, you no longer give that control over you. All right. You, the soul, your truest expression of self, who you actually are, is uncontrollable. You cannot be controlled unless you believe you can, and you'll create all the situations and all the things to control you, but you're actually allowing that to be so. It's no different from the chronic healer. So you have a 25-year-old that is trying to cleanse himself and heal himself all the time. But because he's constantly focusing on something to heal, he's creating the very illnesses within his body to heal something. And then he dies by the time he's like 25 years old, versus the grandmother that drank liquor every single night and lived to 100 years old, right? So your beliefs, what you think, do influence your reality. And especially when you are out of your body and accessing the other side, that is heightened by like 1,000, right? So this is why there is a transitional space. People that do NDEs, I've been through a transitional space just with the OBs, my own transitional space of facing myself, right? Because that's what you're doing. So there's nothing to be afraid of, because nothing could truly harm you unless you believe it can, essentially.
And I think that's what we are collectively doing. We're collectively going through that period right now in body, in our waking life. We are being confronted with fears as an opportunity to release the programs. And that is going to, for me, as far as I can tell, continue to build, because we have to break these things in our mind. And what I'm about to say might sound scary to some people. It's not meant to be. But our fear of death is collectively our greatest fear. We've been so heavily programmed to identify with these bodies and this experience. And I think we are being like, I don't believe you can take this body with you back into the original organic. I think at some point you make a transition, just like Darius does when he has an OBE, you make a transition to the soul body or the more energetic body. And it can be just as seamless as it is for him when he sits up out of his body, when he's asleep and gets up. It can be that seamless.
This is what I also wanted to add as well, Lisa, is that the death thing, right, is when you leave the body, like I'm really trying to get people to understand this, and I don't think they will unless they experience it, but I'll try my best. When you leave the body, your soul is more physical and real than the physical body. Your soul holds a temporary imprint of the physical body. It will look exactly the same. Your soul will look exactly the same as the physical body. You can change that as well.
And if we've lived many past lives, we may scroll through them and go back to one body that we prefer the most, right?
Well, I actually think we do have a template. And that template does dictate what the physical body looks like. And I think that we incarnate through the same DNA line over and over and over again. So you're not actually going to look a whole lot different from lifetime to lifetime. From even if you're a different nationality, you'll see the eyes are the same. You'll see certain structures that are similar because it's all based on a template, your soul's template. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's how it feels to me.
Because personally, even when I'm accessing all these things out of my body, I still look the same. I look slightly different. It's the perfected version, right, of my template. But I look the same. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear at all. And this is why I have knowing what I know and accessing what I access. The different communities, like let's just say the astral community, puts people into fear all the time, fearing of reincarnation, being trapped, and all these things. And that fear, when that soul has that fear of constantly thinking something's going to happen to it, when that soul leaves the body through a out of body experience, it will be faced with the fears. It's like they're creating all of these fear-based narratives. They're literally creating the issue for more things for people to deal with, especially when they leave, transition, etc. And it's unnecessary. Through all the years of me battling my fears coming out of my body, I was forced to face things in order to access more. And those fears are completely unnecessary because they're all based off belief systems of something has more power over you, the soul, than it does not.
All right, Darius, you have classes on how to have OBEs. What's your website if people want to learn more about that?
Yeah, so it's just my name, DariusJWright.com. You could go there. I have an entire method on how to have the out-of-body experience. It's called the Awaken Your Dormant Abilities method, which teaches you the out-of-body state, more in detail of that as well. I also hold workshops, presentations related to that to teach people. I've had a lot of success with it. People writing me emails of success. Like I said, it's not necessarily, a lot of people ask me, what's the time frame? Does it happen immediately? And it's dependent on each individual based off of certain areas of where they are. Some people experience sleep paralysis naturally versus not experiencing sleep paralysis naturally, which will contribute to the process of actually popping out of the body and the way that you want to navigate and go towards that of shutting down the body. So, all that's on my website and I teach it.
Lisa, what are you working on that you want us to know about?
Basically, every week I hold a Zoom meeting giving like a weekly energetic update on where I feel we're at. You can find those on my website, which is lisamharrison.com. That's pretty much where my focus is at the moment, because ever since it felt like in March of this year that the game sort of went live, we're in live play now, really working on the exit, that it felt important to provide these weekly updates because there is so much going on and it's not stopping and it's not going to. So that's, lisamharrison.com. That's where you can find the body of work that I've had since 2009. So,
would it be accurate to say that the end of the construct is coming soon?
we are in it. To me, we are already in and have been for some time. The ending, the closing, the controlled demolition. And it is a very, very controlled demolition because no one gets left behind. And because we are doing this in a way that ensures the minds, the consciousness of everybody concerned. But it is taking a lot longer than most of us would like. but it is in process.
Well, no, one of the things I want to add to that as well is that this is never a passive process either. Like a lot of people, want to hear something so that they could sit back and do nothing. No, knowing what I know, I'm not sitting back and doing nothing. This is why I come out of my body, etc., to access things. So people could take action in doing things to access information, do things, and get the information as well of that which they're seeking. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that as well.
So I guess what you're saying, Lisa, is that our construct is currently ending.
Yes, it is. That's my knowing completely. And it doesn't look like what we might have hoped it would look like or whatever, and September is certainly lining up to be an incredible month from every angle. And I think we're going to have as much magic and incredibly beautiful opportunities as there is going to be fear-mongering and opportunities to be brought back down again. And this is why it's incredibly important to not buy in, to stay in your heart, and that also goes back to the question you asked earlier about what we can do to ourselves, for ourselves, to take this into a knowing. And every time you are confronted with a potential, an idea of something fearful, and you get out of your mind and get into the heart, it's a place of empowerment. And you get through that experience, you confront that fear, and then it drops away. So this heart-mind connection is what is in process of strengthening as well. I mean, a lot of people are in their heads and need to drop into their heart. Those who are already there sometimes tend to leave the mind out of it altogether, but we need both. And that's what we're doing in this transition period too.
So do you guys have a timeline when this is all going to be over?
No, I personally don't know when. I mean, it's not based off time. It's based off event markers. What I was showing with Celeste at 16 years old, I was showing the completion of this, right? And it was shown to me as a celebration, right? And that celebration is when everybody finally wakes up to the other side, sees all things, everything is available to each soul again. That's the whole celebration and stuff that she showed me. Now, a particular time, these things, none of this is based off time. It's all event driven. So certain events need to take place in order for a catalyst of things to happen. Yeah.
Do you guys both have YouTube channels?
Yeah, in our same as our websites, names, Lisa M. Harrison and Darius J Wright.
If people want to ask you questions, is it best to do it by leaving comments on your videos or going to your website?
Website probably, and I've got a contact form on mine that I think Darius does too.
Yeah, same. Website and contact form. I rarely post on social media. I find it a distraction from my work and doing what I do. So the best way for people to get in contact with me is just go to my website, contact me there, or join one of the events that I have. That's the best way to get in contact.
Well, I'm going to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Can you leave us with one last positive message?
It's all good. There really isn't anything to fear. This might sound like it's contradictory to what you just asked, but I was told in 2018 by the contacts that I have through the computer from home that people will be leaving this construct en masse in large numbers. I was even told how, which was what we have seen over the last few years: aneurysms, heart attacks, and that it's not this devastating thing that we think it is. It's people who are going home, and they are making a choice to go home at a certain point in the transition. Not everyone is going to be here at the end when the lights go out. And the only way we can do that in the construct as it is to leave these behind, which is what we call death, right? But when you realize there is no such thing, there are people who are choosing to see and experience the closeout of this copy from different perspectives, from different vantage points, from different seats in the arena. Not everyone actually wants to be here when the lights go out. So we need to have a very different idea of what we've been living under for the last couple of years and what is to come. And this is where we have to confront these fears again. But it is actually all good.
If I were to share anything positive, it would be again, there's nothing to fear, and all is accessible and accessible to people that have the willingness and desire to access it. And it can be accessed. I'm accessing it, continuing to access it, and it's available to people. It's not just for one special individual that has a talent. It's there for everybody. Each soul has the same capacity and ability to see what was always there, which is the other side, which is, like I said before, which is what they consider the great work, which is waking people up to that.
Darius and Lisa, thank you for your messages, and thank you both again for being my guest.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us back.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.